Hey guys, working on the control panel for the MAME cabinet today, and kind of making a hybrid control panel, a little bit a combination of Mortal Kombat and the Gauntlet Legends. I'm starting with the profile of the Mortal Kombats, and I've cut me a small template here, and as you can see it's a little smaller. Let's see if I can get this lined up. Just a cardboard template. It's a little smaller from front to back. You've got about 14 inches on a Mortal Kombat. If you go down, like the panel on top, it's pretty close to 13 to 14 inches, and the sides are about 14 inches. I think the top piece there goes down probably about 13 inches, and this side piece is about 14, and I think it goes down about 8 inches maybe. Okay, the template that I have started out that size, and what I've cut it down to is 12 inches from front to back, and I think it's about 6 3/4 inches tall. And the Mortal Kombats, like I said, they're probably about, well, I know they're 14 inches from front to back. I think they're about 8 inches tall. And I measured out and made sure that I was going to have enough clearance on the inside once I build this control panel for the bottoms of my joysticks and the trackball and everything and the wiring. So I think I'm going to be okay, even though this is not quite as deep. And part of the reason I didn't make it quite as deep is unlike the Mortal Kombats, where the control panel, this part, when you lay it down, it actually inserts down into the inside of the sides of the control panel. The one I'm going to build is kind of like the Gauntlet Legends here. And you see how it has a lip that overhangs all the way around? That's the way the one I'm going to build is going to end up. It's going to overhang, so the top is not going to recess down into the box of the control panel. So that's the way I'm going to build it, but I am going to make the sides pretty much similar in the shape to the Mortal Kombats, keeping the overall depth of it just slightly less, partially because the cabinet, the way it sits now, I don't want to come down too low with the control panel. It's like, it just looks funny with the way the cabinet is. I have had to cut 2 inches off the bottom of the cabinet, and I went in there and eyeballed it with the template, and I think it looks best like this. And I don't want to come out the full 13 to 14 inches of the Mortal Kombat, because it's going to have about 4 to 4.5 inches of overhang on the cabinet that's in the next room. But this way it has maybe somewhere around 3 inches of overhang or so, and I think that's going to look better than sticking way off, like bumping you in the shins or something when you're leaning over the control panel. But it just looks better to me. But anyway, I want to get my table saw outside, and I want to start cutting on at least these side pieces here. I'm going to use my template as a guide, and I'm going to mark out some plywood, and probably cut me off some small pieces off of some of these big sheets of plywood I have, and then take them to the table saw and further cut them down and put the proper angles on them. Hey, in the last clip, I know you seen me working on the front that I was going to put here to replace this panel, and that's the large panel I cut in the last video, and I haven't installed it yet because I didn't know exactly how high I needed it to be. I didn't know how much of this I was going to have to cut out right here to put the new control panel in place, but it's going to end up going here right about like that, and it's going to stick off. You're going to have a little bit of overhang there, probably, like I said, maybe about 3 inches or so. And I just wanted to make sure at the bottom here that I knew exactly how much to cut off of that panel before I put it in place, because it's got to go all the way down just about to the bottom of the cabinet and come up here and take up that extra about 3.5 inch gap there. But that's why I haven't cut that panel yet and put it in place. And it's just kind of a balancing act. Whenever you're doing this, you don't know exactly which piece you need to go ahead and put in place. If I had done that and made it too high, I would have just had to take it loose and come back and cut a little more off of it. Hey guys, just wanted to show you, I was about to unbox a new skill saw. It's a 10-inch table saw that my wife got me probably about 3 years ago for Christmas, and I haven't opened it up. I've just not had room to really set it up and use it, but looks like I'm going to go ahead and set it up for working on the main cabinet here, because I think it's going to work out great for helping to make that control panel. And I just need to get it out, get it set up and test it out. Hopefully, it was bought 3 Christmases ago and I just didn't have anywhere to set it up. Hopefully the motor works and everything, and there's no problems with it, because it's impossible to return it now. But I've wanted one for years, and she got me one, and I failed to unbox it. But maybe I'll get some use out of it now and get to test it out. Next clip you'll see, I'll probably have it outside and have it set up and maybe start doing some tests on it. Okay guys, got my new table saw set up out here. I don't know if you've seen the video. I had a video I didn't get put up yet. It might be put up before this one, but this is a new table saw I bought mainly for this project, but for other things around the house. And it's not a real expensive one. It's maybe a $250 job, but hopefully it's going to make some of these cuts a lot easier on the main cab, and especially for the control panel. But I've just mocked me up some very crude plans here on a small note paper. And I just made me a quick drawing there just showing some of the dimensions. And from the front to back, the control panel is going to be 12 inches. The height at the rear is going to be about 6 3/4. The height at the front is 4 3/4. I may have stated that wrong in my last little clip. I may have said 6 3/4 at the front, but I meant this measurement here. And from front to back, if you look at the top, since there's a slight angle, you're going to have about 12 1/4. Right here, since there's no slope, from front to back is 12 inches. So the length from left to right is 30 inches. And the first pieces we're going to cut is what I made the template for here. And that's one for the left and the right side of the box that we're going to build. And this is, like I said, 12 inches, 6 3/4 by 4 3/4. And the angle there is about 12 1/4. But what we're going to do is going to start with this piece of wood here. And this is actually a piece that in one of my previous videos I thought about keeping as a platform for the monitor, but I hadn't completely decided how I'm going to do that, and I have some other scrap wood, and this would be really good right now since it's already cut kind of small to go ahead and make these small pieces out of. And we just want to check this part right here to make sure we do have a good square corner from the factory. This is the factory edge. Up here is where I made a cut and cut the bottom for the main cabinet out of. So this is coming off that same, I think it's a 2x4 foot piece of plywood. So we're taking our framing square and lining her up here, getting her nice and flush with the wood. Now I know it may be hard to see in the video, but it's a pretty good flush piece there. Pretty flush. So we got a good 90-degree corner on that side. So we're going to start with this. Let me put this framing square aside. We're going to start with this corner and pretty much line our template up with the corner, and so we'll have one true corner on there. And we know that we need to get 12 inches from here across there. So I'm going to take and mark me a line up here to mark off 12 inches and go all the way up to the top of this piece of board. I'll make one pass with my table saw and just cut this into a 12-inch piece all the way across here. And we should be able to get both of these pieces out of this. And then when we move it on up, we can get the second one right around this area if we make a good cut and don't mess our piece of wood up. And this part over here, I would use it. There's a little more wood grain and stuff in here. We got a sticker on there, and got one of those little filler pieces in here, filling a piece. I can't remember what they call those. I'm wanting to say a Dutchman or something. I can't remember. And then on the back part of this piece of wood too, I think, yeah, there's some stamping on there, and on the other side it's nice and clean. So this has already been sanded from the factory, so the less work we have to do to it the better. So we'll just cut it out of the prettiest part of it. But anyway, let me get my saw set up like I need to, and I'll come back and show you the process of making at least one or two of those cuts. Okay, another thing I need to make sure of, I put this table saw together a couple months back. Had to put it all together from the boxed contents, and set up my blade and my blade guard, and that took a while because you really have to sit here and get your blade guard set just right, that when you're cutting a piece of wood it goes through there smoothly and doesn't bind back here, because when you're splitting a piece of wood, each side of it's got to clear this support here for your blade guard on each side, and it has to be lined up. I mean, you got to have it, I don't know if you can see, probably very hard to see in this video, but that piece of metal that supports the blade guard has got to be dead on with the blade. And I'm at 0 degrees now. If you take a look, my adjustment there, we're on 0 degrees.
And if you look straight down the saw blade there, run straight in line with the support for the blade guard. And I checked it several times and it looked really good a month or two ago when I put this together. But you also want to make sure before you make any cuts that take a small speed square. Make sure when you're at 0 degrees that your blade still looks like it's nice and perpendicular to the table of the saw. And if you see right there, we're looking really good. You can check it on both sides if you want to, should be the same. See, we're looking really good there. Everything's nice and perpendicular. And when you're doing this check, of course, I've just moved the blade guard up and I've made sure that I have no power. Disconnected my power going to it while I'm doing this check. You could get careless and bump into a switch and cut a finger off. Okay, we do have our power still unplugged. Need to set our blade down a little bit, the height of the blade. I'm going to leave it a little higher than what I normally do, see how it does, because I've been getting some ripping out and some tearing on this plywood. So I want to keep it get a little bit higher than what I usually do and just see how it does. And I've got some marks on here at 12 inches here and here, but the table, the way I've got it set up now, it's really not long enough to use this over here properly. You can take and move this that it rides on over that way some more by undoing a few bolts, and it would accompany a larger piece of stock like this. But instead I just put it on this side and I kind of eyeballed it by setting the piece of wood down, set it against the guide here, slid it forward, and I just got up close to the blade and I sat down here and I eyeballed it, and it looks like it's really close to where I need it to cut. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a pass like that. If I mess it up, it's no big deal. The worst thing it's going to do is cut it a little bit short, and that's okay because I could still use this side of the wood if worse comes to worse, because this is a 2-foot width. We're going to try to cut it down to 12 inches, but the width of the blade is going to make it to where you couldn't really get two 12-inch cuts out of one 24-inch piece of wood. But if I cut too far to this side, I can always use this piece right here. But I don't think so. I think it's going to come out just about right. So we're going to see. We're going to plug it up now to get some power to it. We've got it flush over here against our piece, and we're going to power it up. Pull our stop back a little bit. Pretty good cut. I noticed there was a very slight bit of binding when I was pushing the piece of wood through, so that means that the support for my blade guard is either just slightly off, or this piece of wood is not probably perfectly square, and I was sliding it against that, and as it was going up it might have been putting some pressure on the blade. I think it's because this wood is not perfectly square. Don't know if you can see, but line it up on the bottom, there is a very slight gap over here where you can see some light coming through. It was real close. That might have put a little bit of pressure on the blade, and that means it burnt through the cut just a little bit. There's maybe just a slight bit of burning on there, but it's still a pretty good cut, and it didn't chip out the plywood at all. It looks like much nicer than my rip saw or my circular saw that I was using. Let's see how close we got on our cut. Should be 12 inches. Looks like we might be just a hair under. Yeah, just a hair under, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Oops, sorry, bumped the camera. The other piece here is about the same. So the blade does take off a bit of width when it cuts through. It takes a good bit of meat out of the wood, but I think we can work with that. It's, you know, 1/8 of an inch under what I wanted, but I'm the one who made the plan, so it's like I can alter them if I want to. Okay guys, I got my template on here, and I know I actually got it flipped around so you can see that yes, it was a ultra moist yellow cake mix box in its previous life, but I was checking the angle on this. It would be the angle on most Mortal Kombats, and it looks like about 80 degrees. I'm using my little speed square. It's about as close as I can figure it. So I've got this other guide here for my table saw set, and I put it on 80 degrees, and I'm going to see if I can get a cut that looks pretty close to what I need. If not, you know, I might have to come on down and do another cut on here. Hopefully I won't scrap this whole piece of wood out, but I'm trying to get this done quickly. I'm usually more meticulous in planning stuff, but I'm losing light here outside. It's about 6 o'clock, and I'm really in the trees bad out here, and I don't get much sunlight, so the sun's already went down over the back of the house there, so I need to get some of this done before it gets too much darker. Okay, I can see that my cut is just a little further than what I need it to be, so I'm just going to push the wood up just slightly more and come in a little closer. That's better than going too far on the first try. So we're just going to move it a little bit. And then we'll try that and see how that does. There we go, guys. That's our first piece. Looks like it came out pretty good to me. Hit right on the mark that I wanted it to after the repositioning. Nice cut. I really like this saw. My wife got it for me for Christmas. I got to go in and lavish blessings upon her. Much better than my circular saw. It's going to be great for the control panel cuts. So that's one side. Let's measure it up and make sure it looks about like the preliminary drawing I had. I know it's going to be off a little bit, but since I'm designing it, I can alter it as I want to. So anyway, there's our original plan. It was supposed to be 12 inches from front to back, and we went under that slightly. So we're like maybe 1/8 of an inch under. Not bad at all. Okay. Front measurement up here is supposed to be 4 3/4. 4 3/4. Looks like we may be just about 1/8 under that. Very close. About 1/8 under, I think. This side is supposed to be 6 3/4. Almost dead on 6 3/4. And I just estimated on that angle, on that pitch, it should be about 12 1/4. And it's about 12 1/16. No, about 12 1/16. So it's under measurement just very slightly, but for the size control panel I'm making it, I think it's going to work out really good. So let me cut this off right now, and I'll get to marking up the other side to cut it. Okay guys, I got our first piece cut, and it looks really nice. I'm just using it as a template to make a line on the next piece. I've got it set up really square to this other piece of wood, and we're just going to make us a line. Oh, broke my pencil lid. Oh well, I got another pencil. Always good to have a backup. Okay, so we got a mark on there. I got to set this piece up, and we're going to do it about the same way. If you take a look, that's where I started to make my first cut. If you can see, it was just a little bit off. It wasn't hitting right on the line where I needed it to. And it was going to cut it just a little big, but that would have been okay. I'd rather that than cut it a little small. But I just repositioned it slightly, took care of that little 32nd or 16th of an inch. Well, it might have been close to 1/8 of an inch actually that it would have been off. That's what we're going to do with this. We're going to start to cut slowly, and then we're going to reposition if we have to. Now this time we're going to cut on this side of the line instead of on the left hand side of the line, because this is a piece we want to keep here, so we want to leave this wood and cut away this part. A little bit tougher this time because we don't have as much wood against the guide, but I think it'll work out okay. And if I want to, I can take this off and put it right here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to try that just to see. It may guide it a little more. Doesn't look like there's much difference. Keep it flush against our guide. We're going to try it right there. Okay, we can see right here I'm over, not quite far enough that way. So if I bump it that way just a hair, it ought to be good. And I mean barely bump it. So. I'm going to try it right there. This guide's a lot wobblier than I'd like, but we're going to try it right there.
almost dead perfect. Looks like we got a very, very tiny bit on that one. That may be a 64th of an inch, maybe. Might have cut. I mean, you can't even hardly see it. Once I put the control panel together, you're not even going to be able to tell it. I could even knock it down with a sander. That's flush right there. That's dead flush. That's dead flush. That's dead flush. Right there. I just feel a very tiny bit of a reveal on my second piece. But I'm pretty happy with that. Really am. I could clamp these two together and run a sanding block over that just a little bit. And to be honest, once you separate these by 30 inches, that's going to be, I mean, even that much would take up that difference and be no problem at all. So, to be honest, I probably won't even touch it. Looks great to me. So if you can visualize, that's kind of going to be, oops, there I go bumping the camera again. It's kind of going to be the way the control panel's laid out there, and it's going to have a board across the top. A lot wider, of course, a whole lot wider, but that's going to be kind of how it goes together. And let me get to cutting the piece that's going to go across the front, and I'm trying to decide right now. I think what I want to do is when I cut that piece, I want to come in on the inside. My control panel is going to be 30 inches in width. I think I want to come in on the inside like that and cut it so that it makes up 30 inches from here to here whenever the dimensions are measured. And you can also take and put that piece on the outside like that and get your 30 inches, but I think I'd rather do it like that. And the reason being is I believe the profile of this is going to look much better if you see a nice clean place right here than if you see that button against it. Like if you see that, that's not going to look quite as nice on the side as if you've seen that. And on the front, it may not make no difference because I may put artwork over that, and even on the side it may not be noticeable. But when I make that cut there, if I put it on the end, I'm going to have to angle this right here. If I put it on the inside, I'm still going to have to angle it to match up with the 80-degree angle here. But I actually thought about mitering the corners here, and mitering I would just, 45 right here, make a 45-degree cut. Oops, I'm off camera. 45 of that, and then this piece that would either butt up against it or go on the outside, it would have to be 45 to cross there. That way it'd fit together nice and neat. Make a real good strong box. Use some wood glue and some finishing nails and maybe some blocking on the inside. It'd be a real strong box. So still making my mind up what to do about that, but let me do that and figure out how to make this cut on this next piece, or either I'll come back and do the miter cuts on these.